Well, President Robinson, first question. People talk there about multilateralism being at a tipping point. What does that mean for Africa-Europe? How can Africa-Europe step it together in this partnership at this critical moment in our global community?
People see the tipping point at the moment as being very negative. We see a country that championed democracy now undermining rule of law, and the multilateral system has been cracking a bit anyway, and this has made it worse. We have populism, we have autocratic governments, and we do have successes like the agreement on what's going to become the pandemic treaty. That's good. I think Europe can really step up with an opportunity because we need rule of law. We need all of the commitments of the European Union on the climate and nature crisis for sustainability. This is the right way to go. Business knows it's the right way to go. So there's a great opportunity, but it has to go with partners. It has to build partnerships, particularly with Africa. Africa is our closest neighbour, and we need much more of a respectful, real partnership that creates opportunities and potential for development in Africa, not the cutting of development aid, which sadly too many European countries have been doing. That's the wrong way to go. We need actually to understand that Europe has to play more of a role at the multilateral level, and that means taking the responsibility and creating opportunities for our friends.
Okay, and when we talk about that real partnership, the work that you've led with the African Foundation to create the Women Leaders Network is symbolic of that. We know it works, it's special, it's a safe space. Could you just reflect, as this comes up to a kind of 5-year anniversary of the foundation, why does that network work? What have you learned personally from all of those discussions and conversations?
I think what Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and myself felt as honorary presidents of the Africa-Europe Foundation was that it would be very good to have a strong Africa-Europe Women Leaders Network, because there's a lot of trust between women leaders, and that trust is very valuable. It means that when we meet and when we discuss, we're in a safe space. We can be honest with each other, we can test each other, we can argue but not fall out at all. In fact, it deepens the relationship. And we've had some really, really good discussions on some of the tough issues, on climate finance, on the role, the relationship between Europe and Africa. And we've had our African sisters speak very sharply at some, and so they should. And they know that we are listening, and that as European women, we're receptive to really valid points that our African sisters make at these meetings. And I think that helps to build the trust and reinforce the relationship.
And just a couple of final questions. On the women leaders, do you have a shared view that there's something naturally action-orientated about those conversations? There's something, at least for me personally, I haven't seen in all the spaces we see. There's something that's not just about commitment and consensus building, but also it's a group which actually wants to get things done.
I think what builds the trust is we have a common way of leading, because we come out of the women's movement, most of us. And that common way of leading is less non-hierarchical. It's caring, it's listening, it's empathetic to the fact that people are affected in different ways. It's practical, it's problem solving, and it tries to be very inclusive and to understand those who are more marginalized and need more help.
Okay. And a very final question on a personal note. As I mentioned, I've got 2 daughters, Julia and Michela, who are young girls who've had the privilege to hear testimonies from some of your colleagues at the Women Leaders. I wouldn't mind, for Julia and Michela, what is your message to that generation about women leadership?
I think it's important to feel strongly about women's leadership, and actually to understand that one of the problems in our world at the moment is we have far too much of a one-sided male leadership. It's not that women are better than men, it's that we need the balance between women and men. Gender equality includes gender parity, and they need to think, young girls today need to think about a world, if 50% of the leaders of government were women, wouldn't it be a much, much better world? Because of that balance, because we think in different ways, and both sides bring a better balance to the overall government at national level, if it can happen, but also at global level. And we haven't seen it at global level. And unfortunately, we're seeing the worst now of a male, autocratic, populist leadership. Not all countries, not all men, and not all women are perfect either in the sense of their approach to leadership, but the balance is what is needed. And the other thing I say to young women, which I'd like to say to your daughters, use humour more. I learned this particularly from the elders, from Archbishop Tutu. If you use humour at your work, at your study, whatever, boys do that much more, young men. They come into the office or they come into the classroom and they don't work so hard. They get on well with their mates. And very often they're the ones that do better, get promotion or whatever. Use humour. Don't get too serious about yourself. I did when I was young, so I'm passing on the message.
Appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, President Ryan.
Okay.